I've just invited a variety of people to talk today, just so we can get a good selection of all the different talent in the area. John is somebody that I met at Jelly Day, which you'll hear about later, I think, actually. And I just loved his website. I just think, it's fantastically designed. And hence I thought, everybody should know John, so I'll pass you over.
Thank you. Hello. Well, my name's John Cowan. My company is Maconta. I'm a freelance web designer, and I think this is actually my first time ever speaking to a microphone, so
yeah, do you want this one
it's a very exciting day. Well, I don't want to double up.
Try that.
Okay. Ooh. Are we good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, as you'd expect from a web designer, I do design. Okay, I do design complete websites with clients going through the design, build, and development process, mostly using Expression Engine, CMS. But mostly I'm a front-end designer. My background is in fine art. I trained as a painter for quite a few years, so I come at design from a lot of experience in visual communication and the belief that as a web designer, it's not just about delivering Photoshop templates, but looking at the complete interactive experience, looking at content structure, information architecture, your navigation flow to the site. So it's very much about working with HTML and CSS pages in the browser so you can get that complete immersive experience. So a lot of times working with clients, looking at the business goals of their site, how the users are going to achieve those, and helping them navigate through the website in a way that's intuitive and non-intrusive. So a lot of what I also work on is ways of keeping the website that's sticky, and even if you're designing web HTML templates that are going to be updated through a content management system by non-technical users using some sort of advanced CSS selectors that can help keep a page really sticky, things like first of type, last of type, nth child. So even though a page is being uploaded just as copy and pasted words, you can add little visual hooks in that help keep your users going through the site and reading the content. 'Cause I think there's a lot of research to show that if people are visually engaged with what they're seeing on the site, they retain that information better. So it's sort of a level of detail that's really worth going into. And outside of web design, I'm a one-time cyclist who hasn't really done very much in the last 18 months, but hoping to get back into it sometime soon. And that's probably me, John Cowan at Maconta. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Rupert Chilvers. I work at the University of Exeter in the Innovation Hub over there. I run two businesses, so I don't stand here as a developer. I actually stand here as an analyst and project manager who worked in healthcare and actually broadening out more in public sector. I got an invite to give a 3-minute introduction, so a little bit about me. I started off as a researcher and had a lot of interest in how information gets out and who uses it. So what was called evidence-based medicine is where I started my career. And from there on, the sort of idea around who's using information and for what, and how a decision's being made became a massive part of, my curiosity. And so more recently, 5 years ago, I set up a company called Tangerine Bee in Exeter and started off in a little studio at the back of Magdalen Road and now moved on to the University of Exeter offices. As part of doing the work with NHS and healthcare, the whole sort of area I started off in is looking at data collection, writing up reports, analysis, all of that, fairly basic, and usually it ended up in PDF documents and printed documents and somewhere along the lines in boardroom papers and informing some big decisions. But actually what's been an interesting journey for me over the 5 years is that it's gone into thinking about where digital publishing comes in. And although some of these teams, who are fairly small teams and majority of their time is spent in terms of writing up, there can be professors who only know about writing up sometimes, research assistants who know how to crunch the numbers. But these guys are getting their head around what does it mean to get my message out online and digitally. And more recently, we've been involved in an international project with the United Nations Population Fund, which has actually opened my eyes in terms of how people think about this, because I see organizations like that and think, actually, they're massive, so they have a great understanding of what they can do. And what you find is they're usually very small teams, and they don't, even if they have some understanding, they don't have the expertise around them as they set up these projects. And what are usually documents that get printed to print runs of about 25,000, circulated in large conferences, and then produced as PDFs and sit on a website while people download it and maybe read the detail, but massive amount of work goes into that. So we managed very recently to convince the team that was running this project to allow us to run a data mashup. And that's how I came across this group. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how that went. So a data mashup as a concept was really taken off a hack weekend concept. So how can we, with the information that we had, so again sticking with this, how do we get the information out as far as possible to decision makers? And in this case, the decision makers are potentially health ministers in different countries. So we have a report that has 60 countries and 4 languages across it. How do we get the information out to them? Well, these guys think you give it in a report and print it up and send it out to them in a conference, which will happen next week. In terms of an initial launch, and then in June as a massive launch in South Africa, fine. But we, in convincing them to hold a hack weekend, could only do the minimal because they didn't really have much resources to put to it. It wasn't part of their brief, it wasn't part of their tender, it wasn't part of their scope. So it was about how many volunteers can we get over a long weekend to come up with some apps that will get this data out. And some of you guys here have participated, so thank you, Jack, Stian, and John. And some of you guys got my phone calls, so I do recognise people I've bugged along the way to get involved. It was a little bit of a struggle to get people in the room, but we did actually manage to get 15 people initially, including researchers, to talk about what could be developed. And then over the long weekend, I would say about 8 or 9 core developers. And we did, and thankfully, with all the talents in the room, developed 4 apps. One, a Facebook app, which is really about getting the younger audience engaged. This report is about maternal deaths, so mothers and babies who die for no real reason, in the sense that we have every way we can to protect them, but we don't. These countries don't have the resources or the people to make that happen. So the Facebook app is really about connecting with the community online and saying, actually, if some of you guys, if some of your friends lived in this country, a third of them would have disappeared because they may never have been born, or their parents or their mum somewhere along the lines might have passed away during childbirth. So that was quite a unique take, which we had the United Nations Population Fund web team lead with us, and he was very taken by that. It's not something they would have come up with. And it was very, we were talking about your friends dying, babies dying, mothers dying, blood profiles coming up. And it's not something that they could easily scope or come up with. And they were very pleased with the outcome. This is not available for release till June, so I can't show you anything. But we did also have John getting involved afterwards, who did some of the design. So some things did happen after the weekend as well. We also had an interactive mapping system, which is now hooked up to SMS. So our hope is that when people are out in the field, they're going to start messaging in about what's happening in the field to do with midwifery, mothers and babies, maternity care. So that's quite exciting as well, something they couldn't have developed. Open source platform was the source for that. And a take on the banner, the idea that Google Ads, for example, putting messages out, this is more about key messages, the advocacy messages, the messages that need to get out to policymakers and people who need to be made aware of the situation in different countries. So a banner was designed which actually talks to the interactive map, so it will ping a message and map the level of interest there is. So that's one that will be circulated to about 25 major partners with the United Nations Population Fund. So hopefully people like UNICEF and other large organisations will be holding that banner. And lastly, a smartphone app. 4 apps out of, essentially I call it a long weekend, but it was some work done after the weekend as well, was pretty amazing outcome for what wouldn't have happened with a project like this. So thank you to those who did put up with my phone calls, and thank you to those who did participate. But I think for us, it was a massive learning curve, and actually, hopefully for them as well, and they have said that it's been great in terms of seeing how information can get out digitally in this format. Thank you.
Thanks, Rupert. Sorry about the screensaver kicking in there. Nice Windows screensaver. Chris is going to tell you about Fantasy Shopper. I met Chris actually at a competition, which he won, and I didn't. Here you go, Chris. Do you want that one? Do you want the other one?
Yeah, we haven't got a slideshow for you, but we've got a logo. That's better than nothing, right? If anyone's doing Instagram or anything. Yeah, if you just go to fantasyshopper.com. We've just finished like what we've called Monster Week. We've basically done 8 till 11 p.m. every day this week. So, and I kind of woke up feeling exhausted this morning and went to the pub. So we're a bit exhausted right now. So we'll try and freestyle something out, but if one of us collapses, then apologies. So yeah, Fantasy Shopper. This is a new tech startup that we've been working on. I had the idea back in April last year. We got VC funding around September last year, and we're just about to take our second round of funding probably in the next 6 weeks. We're still working in stealth at the moment, so we can't really show you what we're building, but yeah, it's quite a lot of underground buzz or whatever you want to call it about it. Fantasy Shopper is a social shopping website, and the idea is to enter the market as a social game and then evolve into a shopping utility, and it's going to be sort of focused around predominantly a standalone website, then also Facebook integration. Well, I mean, it's entirely integrated around Facebook. It's going to be a mobile app and quite a few other things, so I'm already keeling over. Yeah, I mean, the idea is really to sort of grow an audience over the next 12 months and then get ready to exploit future technologies such as augmented reality, local mobile promotion, and particularly NFC as well in the future. Now, the main reason I really wanted to talk is because we've got a big problem at the moment, which is that, I mean, I'm from Exeter originally, and I'm trying to do this startup in Exeter, but we need at least sort of 15, 20 developers, and at the moment we have 4 plus 2 interns, and we're really struggling to get the right talent in this area, and we're trying to sort of figure out like a recruitment branding to attract talent out of London down to the southwest. So the idea for that is really to sort of emphasise on the Devon lifestyle. So for example, giving employees surfboards and mountain bikes and having like beach barbecue parties and that sort of thing. But if we can't get the talent down to Exeter, we definitely have to move to Shoreditch, and we don't want to do that. So just really wanted to sort of take the opportunity to, basically pimp some recruitment here. So, I mean, at the moment we're looking for, if you're an absolute beast at PHP.
Yeah, maybe I can add something.
Yeah, do go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, I'm Dan. Hey, nice to meet you guys. I don't know whether I'm the only one, but I don't have a British accent. I came over and joined Fantasy Shopper last November. I love the Southwest, and for all the people interested in web technology, and I think most of you guys are, we're looking for highly motivated, passionate developers. What we can offer, like I'm very proud of that. Like we're running, we're gonna build like a very fast web page running on the cloud. We recently moved like our whole data structure from MySQL to a NoSQL database. We've got we haven't even launched, and we've got 5 servers on the cloud, and we want to grow and make sure that we can scale as good as possible. And we're just looking for highly motivated, passionate developers, and we're building something very great here. I love working for Fantasy Shopper. I love to wake up and go into work. We've got a perfect setup.
That's no cliche, actually.
No, it's really not. It's not a cliche. And I love the Southwest. Like when it comes to moving to London, I mean, I came from Germany. I couldn't be further away from the sea. I love being here, and I love to stay there.